Good evening, weasels. This is Mama's back in, bringing you a gameplay. As you can see, my only MOAB ever. I know it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. It's obviously on the hard drive here. I'm playing it through theater mode. But so one and only MOAB, I figured it would be a great new way to start out the new series. The new series is going to be Tuesday morning quarterbacks, and I'm going to run through some of the highlights, the lowlights, the scores, and news of the sports world from the week before. I'm a huge Washington fan as I live in Maryland, so you hear my hometown bias, I'm sure. But I'd love to discuss some sports with anyone who's interested, maybe hear about sports from your side of America. I'm starting this series because sports, behind my girlfriend, best friends, and some family members, is the largest part of my life. I spend every day watching, analyzing, discussing, and breaking down all aspects of sports. I hope the series provides sports factoids and knowledge while providing some sort of visual stimulus for the Call of Duty community. This is primarily a Call of Duty channel, but I've been considering montages of epic sports games, goals, etc. as well. We'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, with the NFL. So the NFL just finished the wild card round, aka the first round of the playoffs. It was generally boring games on Saturday, and even the early Sunday game was fairly tough to sit through. Really, the quote-unquote high-powered offenses weren't playing, and it showed. The theme of this video is going to be largely underwhelming offensive production. I'm going to try to hit some of the highlights and point out some of the reasons why each game was so uneventful, but let's try to get through them real quick. First, the Houston Texans beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Houston was riding a slump into the playoffs and were widely regarded as the team with the most pressure for success. They began the season 11-1 and then hit the wall that is the New England Patriots in Week 13. They dropped 3 of their last 4 and fully earned the pressure they received entering the playoffs. Quarterback Matt Schaub still hasn't proven he's ready to be big time, but with the Bengals failing to convert on any of their 9 third down conversions, it doesn't take much to squeak out a W. At any rate, the Texans get by the Bengals 19-13. The late game on Saturday featured the Green Bay Packers handily moving past the Minnesota Vikings. This game had a bunch of hype given that Adrian Peterson almost broke the all-time rushing yards and a season record in Week 17 against the Packers. That game was a scoring bonanza, and the Vikings were able to outlast the Packers. This game, whole different story. And it wasn't dominated by the Packers at all, as they converted on just 3 of their 14 third down conversions. They also punted 8 times in the game. They totaled just 326 net yards. It was a chore to stay up most of the time. They cruised into the fourth quarter leading 24-3 and finished off 24-10. Christian Ponder showed some flashes of promise, but I don't believe he's the long-term answer in Minnesota. Anyway, Packers win 24-10. After a largely uneventful Saturday, Sunday promised to be better. With all the storylines surrounding the Baltimore Ravens and the Indianapolis Colts, the Ravens have a lot to prove this offseason. Flacco arrived as a starter, and they've been plugging away for another ring ever since. They won the Super Bowl in 2000 behind arguably one of the best defenses the league has ever seen. I preface the game this way because I'd like to quiz the audience here. Can anyone tell me who played quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens in 2000 when they won the championship? It only takes a second to Google it, I know that, but hoping someone can tell me without looking it up. I'm from Maryland. I'm also a pretty huge sports fan, so this kind of stuff just comes naturally to me. But most bandwagon Ravens fans in Maryland can't even answer that question correctly. Anyway, about the game. It's kind of a ho-hum game. The Ravens D did what they do best. They kept the rookie Andrew Luck off balance, forcing an interception, recovering a fumble while sacking him 3 times. They get back on track with Ray Lewis anchoring the middle of that D for the last time in Baltimore, Next week, they'll have Denver at Mile High, so that should be a monster game, and you don't want to miss that one. Finally, and for me, the biggest game, the Redskins and the Seahawks. 2 teams with almost no business being in the playoffs. Like I said, I'm from Maryland, huge Redskins fan. I love the team more than I love most things, and this game was absolutely gut-wrenching to watch. I had a similar sick feeling on my birthday when the Washington Capitals, which is the pro hockey team here in D.C., lost in Game 7 to the Rangers. Well, I had that same sick feeling, only it lasted the entire length of the second half. Robert Griffin III could barely move adequately, let alone lead a professional football team against a top 5 defense. It was a nightmare watching his knee buckle and him unable to peel himself off the ground. Kirk Cousins has been plugged in several times this season and has been asked to win games for us, which he's done. But this was already out of hand. We were in obvious passing downs from snap 1, and bad just got worse. We hired Dr. James Andrews, one of the most respected orthopedic surgeons as a consultant. Yeah, we all watched our franchise quarterback go down on a play where he was untouched. Like I said, it's a nightmare situation. It was tough to watch, and I still can't believe how poorly the situation was and is still being handled. A few quick notes about the game. RG3 had a QB rating of 130 in the first quarter, I believe. After that, he averaged 8. Yes, one single-digit lonely number 8. It was clear that he wasn't right. He couldn't plant his right foot to make a throw, and he certainly wasn't going to run down the sideline like he did against the Vikings for 76 yards earlier this season. He should have been covered in ice during halftime, and old Shanny should have announced that Cousins was getting the ball for the second half. Well, none of that happened. Here it is as the Moab hits as I'm discussing the worst play in recent Redskins history. Anyway, the Redskins had a 14-0 lead in the first quarter and left with a 24-14 loss. No points in the last 45 minutes of the game. Disheartening, shocking, nightmarish. These words only come to mind because our franchise quarterback may not be ready for next season. The season that was thought about during the 7-game win streak to finish the year as an even bigger potential. Now we'll probably be suiting up Rex Grossman, old RG2, as our backup. Hopefully just a backup. Anyway, let's move on to the NHL, actually. They agreed on a new collective bargaining agreement. That's good news. It's set to begin sometime in January. I've heard rumors that it's January 15th. We'll have the puck drop for the first time in 2012-2013 season. Or really, should I say just the 2013 season now. I've heard 48 to 50 games for the season, but next week hopefully we'll have better or really any details to provide, I guess. Behind professional American football, hockey is my next favorite sport. So expect NHL news to consume the Tuesday morning quarterback series after the Super Bowl. Moving on to the NBA. Not a huge NBA fan. Hell, I'm not really a huge basketball fan in general. The Washington Wizards are the laughingstock of the league, as they have been for the past few years, but I'll try to make some jokes about them as the season goes along. The NBA just isn't very exciting. In the past, it was fun to watch Michael Jordan, and then to a lesser extent Kobe Bryant, but there really aren't any super exciting teams or players to watch. One stipulation, I guess, the Clippers are apparently the new Showtime team, but living on the East Coast, I rarely get to watch any of their games. Anyway, I'll get a quick rundown of the scores for Monday. And yes, I did pick Monday because the third overall pick in this season's draft, Bradley Beal, put the dagger in the Oklahoma City Thunder to earn the Wizards' 5th win of the season. So, the Wiz beat the Thunder 101-99. Boston went to New York to play the Knicks, and they escaped with a 102-96 victory. There was a little pushing and shoving from Carmelo and Kevin Garnett, but that'll be a storyline to follow in the playoffs, I'm sure. The Chicago Bulls hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers and won easily 118-92. The Hornets from the Big Easy beat the Spurs 95-88. Utah edged out the Dallas Mavericks 100-94. Memphis went to Sacramento and won easily 113-81. And finally, Portland beat the Orlando Magic 125-119. So those are the scores from Monday across the NBA. Let's move on to baseball. Once again, from Maryland, a huge Washington Nationals fan. I won't dwell much, but the Major League Baseball is currently in the off-season, so I'll basically only cover big Nationals news. Adam LaRoche was re-signed by the team. It's a 2-year deal with a mutual option for the 3rd year. Basically, if both parties agreed to the 3rd year, LaRoche is going to make about $15 million that season. We'll see how it plays out. But Michael Morse has become the odd man out from the squad. We'll be looking to add bullpen help, I'm sure, for Morse. But like I said, we'll see what happens as the off-season progresses. So those are the 4 major sports here in America. I know most of the world prefers soccer or football, depending on what nation you're in. Here in America, it's just not that big. I don't watch it. I don't plan to cover it. I would guess 90% of people still listening to this sports recap probably know more than I do about soccer across the globe. But leave a comment below. Let me know if you want me to cover soccer here. I don't plan on it, but enough signatures in the comment petition. We'll see what I can do for you guys. Anyway, that's all the time I have here. I hope you guys enjoyed the first installment of Tuesday Morning Quarterback. Until next time, Weasels.